Welcome to Sphere. I am Price Time, and this is Sphere Finance. Dexes are an integral part of DeFi as they allow users to swap between tokens in a decentralized manner. A subset of users, called liquidity providers, can deposit at least two different tokens together into a DEX to form a liquidity pool. Traders can then use liquidity pools to swap between the provided tokens. But liquidity providers seek something in return for providing their liquidity, and users who support the DEX also seek a return. In addition, protocols who use the DEX seek a return, and traders seek low slippage on their swaps. The alignment of these parties to one common goal has led to the creation of the VE33 DEX. With VE33 DEXes, liquidity providers earn emission tokens as incentives for providing liquidity. Using aerodrome on the base chain as an example, after providing liquidity, users will begin to earn Aero token emissions. These token emissions are inflationary, so while this does provide incentives for liquidity providers, it does not provide any incentive to hold on to the Aero token, which would lead to price decay. This is where another aspect of VE33 comes in. Aero token holders can vote escrow their Aero tokens into VE Aero. VE Aero can be used to vote and decide which liquidity pools will receive Aero emissions in the first place. In doing so, VE Aero voters also earn the swap fees generated by the liquidity pool voted on, and they are eligible to receive bribe incentives. So the combined goal of traders, liquidity providers, protocols, and voters is to create a liquidity pool with the deepest liquidity, because the most liquid pool will have the lowest slippage and will create the most swap fees for VE Aero voters. This will incentivize more votes for that pool, which will drive up Aero emissions for liquidity providers of that pool. More Aero emissions will draw in more liquidity providers to deepen liquidity even further, increasing swap fees and therefore votes in a flywheel fashion. This is the essence of the aligned incentives of VE33. On top of that, users and protocols can bribe voters with additional incentives in order to get even more votes and therefore even more emissions for liquidity pools to drive even deeper liquidity. So bribes are additional incentives for VE voters to vote for a liquidity pool and direct emissions to the liquidity providers. For protocols, this process has to have a good enough ROI to get back the investment of the bribes. Otherwise, it becomes unprofitable. In other words, $1 worth of bribes must yield at least $1 worth of emissions for it to make sense for a protocol to continue providing voting incentives. Let's take the USDC star pool on aerodrome as an example. Preon as a protocol bribes the USDC star pool weekly. This incentivizes VE Aero voters to vote on the USDC star pool to increase Aero emissions for liquidity providers, including Preon itself. For regular liquidity providers, more bribes on a pool is always good, because it will lead to more Aero emissions and therefore more profitable yield farming. For Preon, however, the bribes must be profitable, and so this can change how much is bribed on a weekly basis. But Preon also stands to benefit from the USDC star pool indirectly. Since 50% of the liquidity in the USDC star pool is star, that star has to be minted, which requires collateralization on Preon, which generates fee revenue for the protocol. Now, one other question remains, which is how does this all benefit Sphere? Sphere itself does not necessarily benefit directly from the USDC star pool, but it does benefit from the fees from users who participate in the collateralization of star thanks to Sphere's VE Preon holdings. As a last note, not all dexes are built the same, And not all protocol collaborations are built the same either. Some strategies can and do produce more yield for a protocol than others, for example through profit sharing arrangements or other more advanced strategies. Either way, VE33 dexes like Aerodrome have created a way to align users with different objectives towards a common goal of deep liquidity. Visit us on Discord to stay up to date on announcements and join our community. This video and channel is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence in order to make sound financial decisions. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and always remember that you matter for who you are.